To work the Chinese Waitress Cast On, you need to do the following. We're gonna start out with a slip knot. If you want a detailed tutorial on how I make my slip knots, you can find that elsewhere on this channel. So we've got our slip knot here and we're ready to get going. You'll notice that this cast on, since it starts with a slip knot, only requires a tail that's a few inches long. I usually aim for 4 to 6 inches as a rule of thumb. This cast on also requires 2 knitting needles to successfully accomplish. So to start, we've got our slip knot on our left hand needle and we're bringing the right hand needle behind the left in an X. So this is the orientation your needles would be in if you were about to work a knit stitch. But in this case, there's just nothing there. It's just a slip knot and your right needle behind your left needle. So what we've got to do is take our working yarn and do the following wrapping action. So we're taking the working yarn off to the left of the X of our needles and behind both of them, okay? So then the working yarn is behind the X formed by these 2 needles. Next, you're gonna take that yarn over the top of your left needle. And so the right hand needle is being hugged in place now by this wrapping action we've got going. So I can show you the back of what that looks like. And there's the front. All right, next, the last part of this wrapping action involves wrapping over, doing a yarn over of your right needle that's wrapped all around and hugged in place by the wrapping we've done so far around the left-hand needle. Then we're gonna draw that yarn over in between those 2 loops on the left-hand needle. So it's kind of like what you would do with a cable cast on. Next, this is probably the most annoying part of working this cast on. We have to grab the base of that loop we just formed around our right-hand needle to hold it so we don't accidentally pull the stitch out. Because what we need to do next is pull the right-hand needle out of that loop. And so it was in there like this. We're pulling our right-hand needle out of that loop so we can switch the angle it's in that loop at. So we're gonna pull that needle out, holding that loop securely with our left hand thumb and pointer finger, and then we're just going to insert it the other way into that loop. So we were like this, now we're like this. Next, we're gonna do all of that wrapping again. And we're still in the setup process on this cast on. So again, to wrap all of this, we're gonna go behind both needles that are in this X shape with our right needle behind the left. We're gonna go behind both needles and over the top of the left-hand needle. Now we're gonna yarn over, just like before, and draw that loop underneath between the last 2 loops on the left-hand needle. Now we need to bind off 1 stitch on the right-hand needle. So there's 2 loops on this right-hand needle, and we're going to need it to make it so there's only 1. So we're gonna do that bind off with our fingers by grabbing the stitch closest to our body and leapfrogging it over the other stitch to bind that off. Now, with this 1 loop, we're going to do what we did before, which is secure that loop between our pointer and thumb of our left hand, pull out the right hand loop and stick it back in at the other angle. And once you get used to the rhythm, you'll stick that needle back in and put it directly behind the left needle, because now, once 3 stitches are cast on the left hand needle and there's a correctly oriented loop on the right hand needle, only now are we at the point where we're repeating how to work this cast on. It's a lot, so I recommend going back to the beginning of this video until you get down how to work these 3 loops first before continuing on. Because continuing on is everything we've done before, but easier because it doesn't have those setup stitches, just fair warning. So let me continue on and show you how to cast on more stitches using this Chinese Waitress cast on. So with our right hand needle in an X behind our left hand needle, we're taking our working yarn from the left and going behind everything, behind both needles, and over the top of the left hand needle, hugging the right hand needle in place between the last cast on stitch on the left hand needle and this new wrap on the right hand needle. Then we're going to yarn over the right hand needle 1 more time and draw that yarn over through. We're going to grab the stitch closest to our body on the right hand needle and bind off one by jumping over the stitch that's further from our body on just this right hand needle. Hold this loop in our left hand, remove the right hand needle, insert it the other direction into that loop and behind the left hand needle. And now you can start to see the beautiful braided edge that forms this cast on. So one more time for demonstration's sake, we take the working yarn from the left behind both needles and over the top of the left, yarn over the right, swing it under and draw a loop through before binding off one stitch on the right hand needle. Then lengthening that loop just a little bit, we'll grab it by the neck and pull the right hand needle out and twist that loop in our left hand fingers counterclockwise just a little bit before inserting the right hand needle into it and behind the left hand needle to get ready to cast on another stitch. And then when you've cast on the number of stitches you want -1, all you've got to do, which considering how much hullabaloo all this was to cast on, all you've got to do is extend that last loop and pop it on to the left hand needle to finish the cast on.